Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the Table Talk with Toddy podcast. In today's mini episode, I want to discuss why the ability to pivot and be as flexible as possible as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as a business owner is super duper important. There is no clear ABC path when it comes to being an ambitious person and being in the pursuit of your dreams. Therefore, I have found that being able to, flex a little bit at any given moment is one of the best skills that you can have in this game. So I'm not going to ramble on anymore. Let's go ahead and dive into this episode. Welcome to Table Talk with Toddy, a podcast for millennials designed to motivate, inspire, and educate you on what it really takes to live a real life on purpose. This isn't your typical podcast. You can count on me to keep it real, funky, and relatable here on Table Talk with Toddy. Hey guys, so let's go ahead and get into today's episode. I'll be honest, I was struggling on what to talk to you guys about today, which is very strange because I normally have a lot to talk about. But you've heard me say this time and time again. Every time that you hear my voice or see my face on Facebook or on social media, I want to make sure that whatever I'm saying is providing you with some type of value. And it always doesn't have to come in the form of, a business tip or something of that sort that I typically talk about. But today I woke up this morning and I was just kind of not in the best spirits. And it's not because things are going terribly wrong. You just have those days. I'm sure you guys can relate to that. But I quickly understood why I was encountering those types of feelings. And it brought me to today's topic, quite honestly. And that's the beauty of accepting the journey and taking every scenario, every situation that happens, good or bad, good and bad rather, and turning it into value for whoever is influenced by you, whoever is connected to you in whatever way that may be or look like for you. And so that's why having this podcast is super important to me, because it allows me to share the real of my real life and not just the glorious, glamorous side of the things that I do, because I'm going to keep it honest. Most of it is not glamorous. And so today I woke up and I was like, okay, what do I talk about? I'm on this whole being consistent thing, and I promise you guys an episode every week. And that's exactly what I plan to do. And I just have to trust that God will give me what needs to be said for everybody out there listening. And so today I want to talk about the importance of being flexible. How flexible are you? I think a lot of times when people look at my life, or I've heard some of my friends talk about this as well, my friends who are business owners, that is, people tend to look at our lives and think that things just go as planned all the time. Absolutely not. And the thing that has allowed myself and several of the successful people that I'm friends with and that I know of to be successful and to continue to climb and journey through this journey of being an entrepreneur is the ability to be flexible and to be able to make changes when they come up, whether you expect them or not. And that's one of the areas that I'm finding a lot of new and up and coming entrepreneurs are struggling with. And to be honest, even once you've been in entrepreneurship or you're somebody that's creative and you're kind of going against the grain, if you've been doing it for a while, it's still a challenge. It's still a challenge when you plan for something and it does not go as planned. It's still a challenge when your finances don't line up, or when unexpected expenses come about, or scheduling conflicts, or you have unsatisfied customers and clients, or technology fails you. That just happened to me and Candace a couple weeks ago. A common one that I experienced, a lot of us are having events and maybe nobody's buying the tickets, or maybe nobody's supporting or sharing it on Facebook or Instagram. There's so many different ways that things can throw a curveball at your plans. but that is all a part of the process. And the beautiful thing about having to be flexible is that you're going to learn a great lesson out of it either way it goes. So rather things work out perfectly, maybe you'll figure out something that you could have done better. Or if they don't work out at all, maybe it's an opportunity for you to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you needed to do differently. So either way it goes, it all depends on your mindset, and it all depends on how flexible are you willing to be. How flexible are you willing to be, and how committed are you to making adjustments? Because being an entrepreneur is all about making adjustments. So, quick story. This week, my son and I, and y'all know he just turned 3, we kind of put him back on a schedule because with me traveling all last month and things just being super hectic with my business, he got off schedule a little bit. So in this case as well, we had to be flexible. We had to make some adjustments. I mean, we were living out of a hotel for like a week, and, obviously there was no structure there, and it was just a lot going on that we had to make adjustments with. And then when we returned home, he was just out of whack. He was going to bed whenever, and I was letting him, and it were some things that I needed to do with him that I kept pushing off because when I got back to my desk, of course, work was piled up to my head. So, getting back in the swing of things, we had to make some adjustments. We had to refocus. And so now we're like on this, we're going to do a story with him, one story a week. We're going to focus on that one story. This week's story is The Three Little Pigs. So whether you have kids or not, you've heard the story. It's old, it's an ancient story. But it wasn't until this week that I really paid attention to a lot of the messages that was in that little story. And so it's funny and very ironic how it's tying into what I want to talk to you about today. So we've heard the story. I'm not going to sit here and play through it, but the Three Little Pigs, they were 3 brothers, and the story has been told in many different versions. Tyler and I just actually watched one that's like a literal animated movie, and I was like really engulfed with it. That's how good it was. But of course, you got the big bad wolf, and you got the 3 little pigs who went out and built their homes. And one home was made out of straw, one was made out of sticks, one was made out of brick, right? And of course, the wolf came and he asked them to come in, and they all rejected him. And he blew down the house of straws and the house out of sticks, and the brothers ended up running to each other's house. And the last house that the wolf attempted to blow down was obviously the brick house, which he was not successful in. So this brings me to my first point of, when the wolf approached the first house, I don't know if it was the straw house or the stick house, depending on which version you listen to, he asked to come in. And when the pigs rejected him, he blew their houses down. For obvious reasons, right? A house made out of straw and stick is not strong. It's not going to withstand any type of weather, and it's going to be easy to push down. But the pigs made an attempt, right? They took the first step. They built the house. So this is what happens to us in life whenever we plan for something, whenever we build something. Maybe the materials that we're using aren't good enough. Maybe it was just a first step. And when it doesn't work out, so when it gets knocked down, when your idea gets knocked down, or when someone says your idea isn't smart, or when your business fails, or when a product doesn't sell, when nobody feels like when it seems like nobody's supporting you. These are all ways, and you could really piggyback on the story of it's gonna get knocked down sometimes. But did that stop those pigs from running from that wolf? Absolutely not. They just ran to the next point. They ran and they huddled together and they made sure that the wolf did not eat them alive. But when they got to the brick house, the wolf could not blow that brick house down. Why? Because the material was different. It was stronger. It could withstand weather, right? And so it just amazed me at how relevant that childhood story was to what we experience in life in general. Now, had those 2 first pigs, the ones that build the straw house, the stick house, had they just sat there and let the wolf eat them, they would have never learned the lesson that the materials that they used were not good enough for what they needed them for, that they needed to use brick or some type of other strong substance in order to withstand withhold themselves from the enemy or the wolves in our lives. And so I thought that was just so amazing. And I just had to share it with you guys, because as entrepreneurs and, if you're out there and you are really going against the norm, especially in your family, especially amongst your friends, you've got to understand that you've got to go through trial and error all the time, really, especially when you're building your foundation. You're gonna fall down. You're gonna make mistakes. These are all learning lessons. And if you're not willing to be flexible, if you're not willing to just pick up the pieces, make the necessary adjustments in whatever it is that you're working on, whether it be a program, whether it be your automation, your system on getting new customers and clients, whether you wrote your first book and it didn't sell and maybe you just need to go and tweak some things and make some adjustments, whatever the case may be, trial and error is all a part of the journey. And if you're not making errors, you will not grow. Right? It won't stretch you. It won't show you how to be a better person. It won't show you how to make more money or whatever your goals are. And so what do you do when you are forced to pivot? Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about that really quick. What do you do when you are forced to pivot? When you are forced to bend a little bit and maybe not take door A and go through door B, making adjustments. What do you do? Okay, so I'm going to give you a few tips that works for me that I believe will work for you if you really think about it and take advantage of it and just stop for a moment and think about it. The first thing that you do when you are forced to make adjustments is take a moment to acknowledge what's happening. Take a moment to face the music. Because if you're forced to make an adjustment and you just try to carry on without making those adjustments, you'll make bigger mistakes, more mistakes, because you override it or overrode, whatever the version is here, because you ignored what was happening. So take a moment. I had to do this today. I had to just sit back, face the music, be real about the facts, and say, okay, this is what happened. Now it's up to me to make the adjustment so that either this doesn't happen again or so that I can use this as a learning lesson to continue to grow. So the first thing you want to do is take a moment to acknowledge what's happening and face the music. That's probably the hardest part to do. Once you've done that, consider the positives in the situation. Because when things don't go well or when we have to make adjustments, when we have to take door B or C or D, the first thing we do is think about all of the bad things and the negatives and the complaints coming, and it's just negative energy and negative vibes and negative energy. You can't think positively. You can't think strategy. You can't think a solution with a negative mindset. So when you get in a place where you are forced to make those adjustments, take a moment, consider all of the positives in that situation. As hard and challenging as that may be, think about the positives. Think that, maybe this didn't happen because a better opportunity is closer. Maybe I wasn't ready for this opportunity. Maybe there's still more I need to learn within myself. Maybe there's still more growing I need to do to make sure that this thing or this idea is effective and that I get the results that I need for it. And then lastly, and most importantly, is to practice gratitude and surround yourself around positive people who will speak energy and life back into your dreams. Because if you don't, you will beat yourself up. Those negative thoughts will find their way back in, and you will not find a good and effective solution to whatever it is that you are experiencing. So for me, whenever I get in a place where I'm like, woe is me, and why does this have to keep happening? Or why did this happen? Why couldn't this happen in the way that I needed it to happen? I quickly try my best to think about everything positive that has happened out of that situation. And then I either text a girlfriend that's doing something and I'll encourage her, or I'll let her know what's going on. And she'll say, okay, well, now, maybe offer a solution or just give you an encouraging word. And that is why it is super important to find those positive people, because they will speak energy and life back into your dream so that you can pick up the pieces, make the adjustments, flex a little bit, and keep it moving. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, because being flexible is really the key in being successful, and you've got to be able to do that. I don't care what industry you're in, who you are, how much influence you have or not. Being flexible is going to be one of those things that really grows you and really stretches you into being a person that not only changes your own life, but changes other people's lives. Because when people see that you're flexible, that means they know you're reliable. You'll do whatever you have to do to make things happen. And I mean, obviously that results in a better life and business for us all, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Like I told you, this is just a mini episode. Wanted to just share my thoughts on that with you. And it's also a reminder for myself as well as I go into next week and this weekend. And I really just wanted to share that with you guys. So as always, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. This is episode 20. So some interviews are coming up. As a matter of fact, I just secured a couple of really exciting ones this morning. So stay on the lookout for those. If you're just listening to the podcast for the first time, thank you so very much for taking the time out to listen. Don't forget to go back and check out all past episodes, and please subscribe and review so that I know what you guys love about the podcast, maybe what you don't like. If you have suggestions for episodes, definitely shoot me an email at tabletalkwithtati@gmail.com. And guys, stay positive, stay motivated, and I will talk to you in the next episode.